Hello, and welcome to the 108th episode of Rivers Arcade Review. My name is Ed. My channel is dedicated to the coin-operated video games of yesteryear. Today I'm doing a viewer request. Today's game was requested by the viewer SHAY ROSENTHAL, and the game they requested was Ataxx. Ataxx was released in 1990 by Leland Corp. My first time playing this game was on MAME. Ataxx is a puzzle and strategy game in which you control your movements with the trackball and a select button. The object is to claim as many squares on the board as you can, all while keeping your opponent from doing the same. The player with the most squares with their colored dots on them when the board is filled wins the game. The game begins with the information entry screen. The first thing you enter are your initials. After entering your initials, you will enter your birth month, then day, then year. Doing so will bring up your statistics if you have played any games before. Players have the option to bypass the information screens and get right to playing the game. Before gameplay begins, you will be able to choose which opponent you wish to battle first. You will have 5 opponents to choose from. The opponents are named from easiest to hardest: Colony, Drool Man, Mushman, Gorgon, and Cephaloman. As the difficulty increases, each of these challenges will play the game more aggressively and strategically. The description of the opponents are as follows. The easiest opponent is Colony, who is a series of ghosts that will play against you. This opponent will have a rating score of 800 and a reserve rating. The next hardest opponent is Drool Man. This opponent has a large head and continuously drools and will have a rating score of 1200 and a reserve rating. The opponent with the medium difficulty will be Mushman. This opponent has long tendrils coming from his face. This opponent has a rating score of 1700 and an expert rating. The second hardest opponent is Gorgon and looks like Medusa with snakes coming out of her head. This opponent has a rating score of 2000 and an ace rating. The toughest opponent you will face will be Cephaloman. This opponent has a giant head, making it look like he has a giant brain. This opponent has a ranking score of 2200 and a champion rating. The game takes place on a 7x7 playfield with green tiles. There will be 4 gray tiles in the center 3x3 area of the playfield. The position of the gray tiles will change based on the difficulty of the opponent. There will be 4 game pieces, also known as blobs, placed in the corners of the playfield. The upper left and lower right will have red pieces, and the upper right and lower left will have blue pieces. For the purpose of this video, I will be describing gameplay as the red player. The gameplay will always begin with the red player. Players have a choice of 2 types of moves you can make. The first type of move is the add a piece move. To add a piece, you need to move your cursor arrow over one of your red pieces and click the select button. After clicking on the piece, you need to move the cursor to an adjoining square, and then click the button again, and a new red piece will appear out of the piece you originally clicked on, and will take over the new square you clicked on. The second move you can make will be the jumping move. To do this move, you need to once again click on the red piece you wish to move, and you can move over one space, whether it is empty or occupied by either player. Once you click on the new space, your piece will leave the original space and occupy the new one. You can also capture squares by placing one of your pieces next to an opponent's piece. If your piece touches the square held by your opponent, either horizontally, vertically, or diagonally, the pieces will be changed to your color. The match will continue until all squares are captured by either player. The player that occupies the most squares will win the match. These games will be timed, and the players will receive 100 seconds per credit. The clock will only click down when it is your turn, so when it's the opponent's turn, your clock will freeze. Whether you win or lose the match, the game will continue if you have time remaining on the clock. If your timer runs out, you can buy in for another 100 seconds for another credit. If you win a match, the next playfield will have a different layout of the gray blocks. There was a Japanese release for this game that had a match play buy-in, and you would play until you lost a match, although you can continue with the same opponent you lost to for an additional credit. This game offers a 2-player mode, although this mode is also timed, and each player receives 100 seconds of game time. Just like single-player mode, your timer will only click down when it's your turn. If one player's time runs out, the opposing player wins the match, and if the loser doesn't buy in again, you'll automatically begin a single-player game. I like playing this game, although I wouldn't play it in an arcade setting, but would recommend playing it on an emulator. I like this game more than Zaxxon, but not as much as Bump and Jump, so Ataxx moves its way into the 83rd position overall.
Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any games you'd like me to review, please leave a message below or on my homepage. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe, and stay tuned to new videos every Wednesday and Sunday.